Hello, everyone. I am Dr. Ananicia with SisterSong Women of Color Reproductive Justice Collective, and I am the Kentucky coordinator. Welcome to Beyond the Narrative, Black Fatherhood, Mental Health, and Reproductive Justice. Today, we are going to have powerful conversations with Black men and what does their role look like in the movement, but also as fathers and father figures.
All right, you all. So I just want to introduce this video. By a show of hands, who is familiar with SisterSong? Okay, we got a couple of hands. Who is new to learning about SisterSong today? Raise your hand. Okay, that excites me. So we got together with some Black men in the community and decided to talk about what does fatherhood look like. If you all have ever been in community and see, yes, we have. Your daddy too. So if you all ever been walking in the neighborhood and community and you've seen the Trust Black Women shirts, that is SisterSong. That is an initiative that was created based out of Georgia when there were some things coming down the political climate where they were putting up billboards in response to not trusting Black women and saying that their babies weren't safe in their womb. So as we think about the birth justice work that we do at SisterSong as well, we also want to think about how do Black men trust Black women? What does that look like as far as your role in maternal health too? So this video, it's raw, it's uncut, it's just sitting down, having a conversation with these two fathers. They're being vulnerable, they're being transparent, but working at SisterSong, it also is information to us of how do we meet you all where you are at, so we bring you closer into our movement. So reproductive justice is everything, whether you're thinking about maternal health, whether you're thinking about the environment, community violence, housing justice, policy work as well. So if this is your first time being in the space with us, we invite you to lean in, and we hope that you walk away today and take something with you and begin to carry on the conversation. After the video, I will bring up these wonderful panelists, and then you'll be able to engage with them. So please start the video.
You know, I know you probably heard this saying, they kill the men by the police, but they're killing our women in the hospital.
That's really alarming. Like, it makes me want to know why. You know, if two of the same species of female is giving birth, then why is it that the Black woman is passing away at a higher rate than a white woman? As Black people, we should start asking more questions. That should definitely raise some awareness when it comes to Black pregnancy and Black maternal health. I think that is, yeah, that's scary. Joy, excitement, fear, anxiety, but overall, just like overall happiness. Like, honestly, overall happiness. Like, it's a different type of feeling knowing that you're going to be responsible for another human being. And so watching all of my other siblings and a lot of my friends become fathers or become mothers or parents in general, it's been beautiful to see. So I'm excited that it's my turn now. I think as a father, the biggest thing I ask for is grace, patience, and support, to be honest. Like, just because like I've never done this before. I know a lot of people haven't. With that fear, of course, like I said, bringing a Black girl into this world, a world of uncertainty and disorder right now, there is a lot of fear surrounded around that for me, but I know what type of person I am. I know what type of father I strive to be. So really the main thing is just making sure she's protected, making sure she has the space and capacity to know she's loved. You know, whatever it is that she's looking to do, just really want to be right there and alongside her and let her know, like, it's possible. Whatever it is you want to accomplish, like, we can make it happen. So creating that space to let her be able to grow and thrive and figure out, you know, maneuver through life and figure out what it is she wants to do. Wholeheartedly, I just want to be able to let her know that she's loved. She's got a village waiting for her already. You know, I definitely can't wait to meet her. I pray for her every night, I think about her all day. It's been a very interesting journey, to be honest, because like I've been very hands-on, been very present, and it's like I've been surprised to see how involved the doctors are with me. Like they ask me questions, they acknowledge me, but I've made every doctor's appointment. I try to be there for everything. I try to support moms as much as possible, just to let her know she's not alone, she's not by herself. But for me, it's just like, again, it goes back to doing my own research, so reaching out to doulas, trying to make sure we have a doula in place because, you know, they're the bridge between the family and the doctors, and really going to be able to make sure, like, to have those hard conversations or make sure those appropriate questions are being asked when I'm in the delivery room. You know, I can notice certain things, I can pick up on certain things and be able to speak to those and be able to, you know, of course, advocate, you know, for her.
When Marley was coming, we didn't have her naturally. So let me say that, you know, it wasn't the natural process. My wife had to have a C-section. At that moment, you know, I knew that I had to be the person that kind of took away her anxiety. Great doctors, man. They did everything they could do to make my wife feel safe, comfortable, and making sure that, you know, she knew that this is a normal experience a lot of women go through. But you still don't know. In regards to keeping my wife safe and making sure that she is safe, is always reminding her that we are partners in this together, but in the same part, one does not exist and one does not survive or grow without the other. We have to understand that this family or this thing that we're doing is a sub-community. And in order for a community to survive, you have to have people that are willing to work together and people who are willing to listen and to support each other as well in every facet there may be, physically, mentally, and spiritually as well. The person that kind of took away her anxiety, great doctors, man. They did everything they could do to make my wife feel safe, comfortable, and making sure that, you know, she knew that this is a normal experience a lot of women go through. But you still don't know, you know, when she, and I knew my wife, when I saw her face on the table when they said, "Oh, Mr. White, you can come in now," I knew that I had to ask my wife 2 questions that, you know, could kind of relieve her stress. And I said, "Hey, what Beyonce song do you want me to play while we're in here?" I promise you. And the second question was, "What do you want to eat when it's time to eat?" I'm always there on the side of my wife, supporting her at that time when she's coming out, and I don't want to leave her at that. For example, with my first daughter, I talked all that stuff and said, I'm gonna be the one that's gonna take her out. I'm gonna say, "Oh, you're way," I'm gonna hold her up, and, you know, and, you know, when that time came, I was next to my wife. I was next to Ashley saying, "Are you okay? You're good, you're breathing. Hey, you're not doing it the way we said, let's go, let's," you know. And then the doctor said, "Okay, she's coming." I said, "Well, I can't leave this right now," you know. When you're a parent, you know, my point of view is there's no wrong way to parent, you know, because none of us have this thing locked. None of us have the cheat code. None of us have the magic recipe to say, "Oh, be a parent, this is how you do it. You take a little bit of this, take a little bit of that, and you're doing it." No, we're all gonna parent different. We're all gonna see other parents parent the way they want. So we, you know, as a father, you just have to allow a father to be a father, man, and just know that he's working this experience from his experiences. And, you know, and anything that I do, and I know other fathers do, if long as there's intentionality behind it and a rationale, Whether if other people see that wrong or not, allow that father to be a father. When a black woman is saying something is wrong in regards to maternal health, we have to listen to that. When a black woman is telling you something or anything, don't immediately think that you understand. We as black men, we need to be trusted more. We're looking at things from a different lens, and we do have a perspective of actually what's going on and how some things may happen. A woman's intuition is one of the most powerful intuitions in the world, but it doesn't mean that black men lack intuition. So there may be some things from a male perspective that we see like, hey, I don't feel comfortable with this doctor, or I don't feel comfortable in this facility because of the way they're doing something else. If they maintain this space this way, I can imagine how they maintain this space, so that might not be a good space for us, And of course, we always want to make sure that we're accommodating the mother at that time, and we do want to do that, but we also have to make sure that our voice is being heard in regards to the scenario. Marley, Morgan, what's going on? This is Dad. I just want to let you know that I'm more than confident that you're going to take every experience that you've been through with Mom and Dad and every lesson that we tried to teach you, and you're going to use that to the fullest capacity.
Dear baby girl, I'm super excited to become your father. I've been waiting patiently for this moment, and now I can finally say I'm going to be a dad, a girl dad at that. I can't wait to meet you, to hold you, bond with you, to show you that you are loved. Really excited to give you your first experiences. So, riding your first bike, or taking you to your first practice, or showing you how to drive, how to fight, protect yourself for sure. But more importantly, how to create a safe and protective space for you.
Never be scared. Know that this world doesn't owe you any understanding or any acceptance, but you can't allow that to trick you out of your position to be great. You two sisters are all that you have in this world if Mom and Dad isn't here, and that you guys being divisive will never work in your benefit. I know that you care about each other very much, and I know that you cared about us, but I want you to care about yourselves even more.
You're about to be born in a world of uncertainty and disarray, and that's scary as hell to know, especially as being your dad. But as your father, I plan to keep you safe, keep you protected by telling you the truth about this world and the people that are in it. I'm gonna show you how to maneuver in life. I'm gonna try to guide you to the right path. I plan to create a space for you to always know that you not only have a voice, but you have a choice in life, even if you choose not to choose. Remember, you are always loved. I want you to have the ability to make your own decisions and choices and always be confident in them, and more importantly, yourself.
And know that making time for yourself isn't being selfish or putting other things aside because you want to accomplish your goals isn't, something negative or something bad. Just know that whatever it is that you achieve, you're going to give that back to the world, because that's the reason why you're here, and that's to align with your purpose.
I want you to know that your mother and your father will always support you, always advocate for you, and we will always go to bat for you no matter what. Your grandmother, I know she's whispering to you in the womb. I know she's looking over you, smiling down on us. I can feel her presence, and I know she's proud to finally have another grandbaby and a granddaughter at that.
Man, whoever it is that you decide to partner with, just know they have some big shoes to fill. I definitely want to make sure that I say that, because I know that you see yourselves highly, in a very high favor, and that's okay. That's definitely okay. There's definitely nothing wrong with that. I'm more than confident, again, that you're going to take everything that we taught you and you're going to take that out to the world and be the best versions of yourselves. But again, remember, the world doesn't owe you any understanding or acceptance, but always accept yourself for who you are.
As I write this, I just want you to know you are already loved. You are so loved. You're not even here yet, and you've already changed me. I wake up every day. I wake up every day thinking about you and going to sleep praying for you. Everything I do now has a purpose, and that's because of you. When you get here, life won't be perfect. I won't be perfect. But I promise to show up and to grow with you and to love you unconditionally every single day. That's my word. You will always have a safe space with me, no matter how old you get, how far you go in life, or what you choose to do in life. Like I told you, you already got a village waiting on you, and a family ready to pour into you, and a father who's gonna give you his all. I'm gonna try to raise a smart, strong, fearless black girl who knows her worth and walks in her light. I can't wait to meet you, baby girl. Always. Love, Pops.
Trey, understand that you're always going to be tested, all right? But never lose faith in what it is that you're trying to do. Just know that you have the best intentions for your daughter to be, all right, at heart. And as long as you do that, you're never wrong. Every parent's going to parent the way they want to parent, but you're her parent. So always remember that, all right? Don't feel like you're being judged. Don't feel like you're doing anything wrong. As long as you're doing things with love and intentionality behind it, you're always gonna be in the right.
What's the most rewarding part of fatherhood for you?
There are no rewards. Just know that. No, they're gonna work you. Your child's gonna test you. Your partner's gonna test you. But they love you though, man. So I just want to say that unconditional love that they're gonna have, and man, the moments that you trust me, the smiles. I guess I don't know. I can't put it in words. It's just knowing that you're loved unconditionally by this one person, and this one person is so invested into needing you. You know, she's gonna be invested into needing you. She's not even gonna know why, but it's just gonna be her natural, behavior to just say, that's my daddy. He is the greatest thing in this world to me, and that's gonna be her thing. She's not gonna say it, but it's gonna be a part of her natural behavior every day, man, seriously.
I hope so.
I am Black Fatherhood, and I belong in maternal health. Told you, bro. Yeah, you ready to be a dad now? That was the oath right there. You feel me?
I feel good.
So before we get the panelists up here, I do want to give you their bios. And as I share each individual, if you would show them some love and just let them know that you're thankful for them today as well. So our first individual that I want to introduce you to came all the way from St. Louis to join us today. So Brad Edwards is a nationally recognized community leader, fatherhood advocate, and change maker committed to uplifting Black men and families. As a director of community engagement and program strategy at Dear Fathers, Brad has led transformative initiatives such as Straight Mental and Dads to Doulas programs that have impacted thousands of men across the country by centering mental health, fatherhood, and maternal health. His work has been featured on NBC News, The Jennifer Hudson Show, and through partnerships with organizations like the NBA, MLB, and Blue Cross Blue Shield. Let's give him a round of applause and some Louisville love. Next, I want to introduce you all to someone I trust in this work, someone I can call and we can counsel one another of how we take care of these families and community. Is Dr. Edward Miller. He is a maternal fetal medicine and high-risk obstetrician at U of L's Physicians. So, OBGYN in women's health. Dr. Miller specializes in high-risk pregnancies that include heart conditions, diabetes during pregnancy, and multiples. You all, when I say he really cares about the families in our communities, it is a blessing to have him. Please welcome Dr. Miller. All right, handing it over to the fathers in our film. We want to give a shout out to Louisville native Tre'Sean Durham, one of the featured fathers in the film and a member of the production team behind Beyond the Narrative. He is also a gifted photographer and videographer. Tre'Sean brings stories to life with authenticity and heart. His background as a college athlete taught him discipline and teamwork qualities that shape his creative work and commitment to community. Please welcome Tre'Sean Durham. All right, and then we have Dr. Maurice White, who is one of the featured fathers of the film as well. He is an educator dedicated to helping young adults, recognizing their greatness by connecting their passions and interests to education and formal training. He currently serves as an assistant professor at Jefferson County and Community Technical College. Also, the community, y'all may know him as DJ Reese as well. And so he also organizes us being able to learn the line dances in the community. Please give a round of applause to Dr. Maurice White, also known as DJ Reese. So before we get started into the questions, and we also want to invite you all into the space to ask questions, I want you all to just take a moment and just look up here and acknowledge that we can hold space for Black men. We can hold space for fathers, but it takes all of us collectively to come together and offer the space that they can share their voices. You know, they deserve to be a part of the conversation when you think about maternal health. And we can't let this event be the last opportunity. SisterSong doesn't always have to be the convener. We're also looking to you all as well amongst one another to start inviting you all, whether it's at the dinner table, whether it's in your church, whether it's in the parking lot, whether you're at work sitting around the table, social media. Please use those networks and opportunities to start having those conversations, but then also take those conversations and put them into action too. So the first question I want to just start off with is just getting some of you all's feedback and thoughts about watching this video, seeing these two fathers. And so we'll kind of just go down the line and just share what came up for you during the video. You got to turn it off. Make sure you all's mics are on too, please.
Check. All right, there you go. Like I told Tre'Sean before the video played, like the real emotion that he showed, like that level of care, that level of concern, like you can see that he's already planning, you know what I'm saying, for when his daughter gets her, understanding the world that she's coming into, the role he's gonna have to play, and being very present. Like it made me emotional even just playing it just now because I understand what that feels like. I had that with both of my kids. So and I feel like even Dr. Maurice sharing some of the things with him, like that was a very real conversation that some of me and my friends would have. So that was a super, super dope.
Thank you. What about you, Dr. Miller?
You know, this video actually really touched me, and I think will actually change how I practice medicine. They say that women become a mother the moment they feel a baby move, and dads become a father at birth. Because for dads, it's kind of like abstract, right? Like, you know, your wife, your partner is pregnant, but you can't feel it, you can't see it. It's different. And I can't tell you when a mom is giving birth, the amount of dads that say, I'm going to catch this baby. I'm going to catch this baby. And I can't tell you the amount of dads that I've caught Because when they actually see it happen, I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. And dad goes down. And this taught me that we need to prepare for fatherhood before that baby comes out because there's work to be done prior. So I think this video is a really important start.
Thank you. Tre'Sean?
I just was very thankful for having the opportunity to be a part of the project, but um, definitely to Maurice's point of the planning, the thinking, like, okay, I'm gonna be there, I'm gonna catch her when she comes out. It was very similar to what Maurice experienced. You know, I was right there with Courtney, pretty much like right by her ear, like just kind of encouraging her, telling her, like, you know, you got this. This is, you know, it's the baby's coming, so you know you got it, and you know you want to be right there to catch her, but didn't have that opportunity. So, but to Brad's point, was very methodical throughout the whole experience, throughout the whole pregnancy. Read a lot, did a lot of research, and just tried to be prepared as much as possible. Because, like I said, I mean, I've had several siblings who have had children, I've had friends who have had children, and so I'm kind of late to the game and been present in all of their experiences and their journeys. But to have it for yourself and to see it for yourself is totally different. And it was an amazing experience, and yeah, I love every second of it.
Yeah, so I don't know if everybody knows your daughter is here now, right?
Yeah, she's here now. She's 3 months now. Talia Yvette Durham is part of the world. So yeah, she's right here with us today. So yeah.
And what about you, Dr. White?
Man, watching it again today, the video, it just put me in the mode of being there, meeting Trey for the first time and developing this brotherhood. But this time it was very different because I was paying attention, but I was like really captivated by my daughter's responses and you know, seeing, and then I talked to my daughter. She knows how I feel about her. I'm sorry if I'm putting you on the spot right now, but you know, for her to see this is how I talk about you when I'm away from you, it was big for me because I really wanted her to see that. So, you know, I enjoyed this experience with them.
Thank you. So I also want to bring into the conversation trust in Black women. So as you all saw, we have this swag, the bags and the shirts, and individuals wear it proudly. And you know, most times when they come into the space with SisterSong, they're looking for the swag, but trust in Black women is also action. So my question to the panelists, your role in community, your role just as a person in this world, what does that look like to trust Black women from a professional lens and a personal lens?
I can start with that. So even with, like, so Dad Doulas was born out of my personal experience with loss. But I had to trust my friend Kyra, who developed and wrote our curriculum. I had to trust her to know how to speak to me and how to develop something that was appropriate for us and to lead that charge. The Black Panther Party is one of my favorite groups to look at, and the women leadership within the Panthers, like they held a lot together. So I think for any movement to move, Black women are a pivotal piece of that throughout history. So everything that we do at Dear Fathers is for the Black men, it's for the family, but we also have to take into account Black women. And as long as they're on board with what we have going on, we'll be successful in that. So trust in Black women, I love that theme. Like that's something that we live by.
Thank you. What about you, Dr. Miller?
I don't even know how to answer that question. You know, I think that we've seen in recent years that Black women are the most important demographic in so many variables in life. So the amount of times that Black women have saved democracy, the amount of that Black women are the most educated group of any group in the country. Um, and what's crazy is when you look at maternal mortality, is despite education, despite achievement, nothing protects Black women during pregnancy. And I'm shocked every day, really, because we talk about this when we have our venting conversations. But the agency that we give medicine is crazy to me, and the fact that the people don't have the power and Black women don't have the power when they see their doctor or don't feel empowered when they see their doctor is crazy to me, because doctors can't have jobs without patients. So you're literally our bosses. But when we ask you or make a recommendation, that relationship is everything. And I think when it comes to what it means to trust Black women is to realize that for me, when a patient walks into my office, my first visit is unpacking what medicine has done to them, is building that trust. And then after that, we can focus on everything else. So trusting Black women, most importantly, first step is to listen to Black women.
Thank you. Tre'Sean?
I would say for me, of course, a woman's intuition is extremely strong, but especially a Black woman. And so I feel like there's a lot of things that we could learn from just, listening to a Black woman, listening to her open mind, listening to her experiences, listening to her opinions. And I think that SisterSong does a really good job of honing in on that and really putting that out there for folks to know that, like I said in the video, women have a voice, and not only that, but you also have a choice. And so I think that's the most important thing is, letting them know that they are supported, their ideas, their ideologies, all of that matters. And we wouldn't be here without them. And so I think it's extremely important. And like I said, I love the fact that SisterSong does a good job in their intentionality with that. And I'm just happy to, like I said, just be a part of the movement now. So
Yeah, we're happy to have you. What about you, Dr. White?
Well, my response is always going to be the same. In other SisterSong spaces, I've used the same analogy, the iceberg analogy. And trusting Black women for me is doing or practicing deep listening. For example, when you have an iceberg and it's in the ocean, you can only see that little white cap, that little top, that little peak with the little snow on it. But if you put your head into the water, it's jagged, it's humongous. It was the reason the Titanic sank, because they didn't know what was up under the water. So when women are asking for the choice to be able to, do whatever they want to do with their maternal health, they're not really asking for the choice. They're really seeking out human rights. And I'm just using that one as an example. But when it comes to trusting Black women, we have to make sure that we're practicing deep listening and stop listening to the things that are surface level. Like, we really have to peel back the layers, put our head up under the water, and see what the glacier really is.
Thank you. So, Brad, I want to stick with you for a little bit because I don't think people in this room know the amazing work that you've been able to develop, especially in St. Louis. Please give us some history about your story, how Dad Doulas came to be, and what does the future look like, and how can Louisville be a part of it and Kentucky as a whole?
Yeah, so Dad Doulas really came about in 2017. I was expecting twins. And at the time, my partner, she was in Chicago, I was in St. Louis, and I just really did not understand like everything that really went into like maternal health, how much I needed to be there, how much she needed my support. So I could remember going to one doctor's visit the whole time. And like I said, she was in pharmacy school, so she was on state insurance. And I remember going to the visit, and I was like, this does not look like a very conducive situation. They were just kind of like getting these women in and out. And one night she had some contractions, and I drove her to the hospital. And we waited there for hours. We ended up going to another place. She lost the first twin that day. And then a week later, she lost the second twin. So I felt so helpless. I didn't know really what to do, how to navigate the situation. So when my daughter was on the way in 2020, I reached out to a good friend of mine, Kyra, who wrote the curriculum for Dad Doulas. And I asked her, like, hey, can you train me on how to be prepared for this situation? Like how to go to doctor's visits, how to show up in the labor delivery room. And I told her all these things that I remember hearing, like the oxygen levels and the heart rate, all these different things. Like, I need to understand what this means and what this looks like so I can be better prepared going into the situation. So we wrote out what we called my playbook. So that covered everything from the doctor's visits, on what kind of questions to ask, how to talk to the doctors, what things to listen for. And in doing that, I was interviewing women for something I was working on with some college friends, and maternal health was going to be our entryway. So they were giving me all these different experiences that they had. and they were a lot of traumatic, like hemorrhaging, placenta abruptions, all these different things. And these were very educated women. These were women that had means. And I noticed that one thing was common. These were all preventable situations. So if they would have had a partner that was there that was able to advocate for them, that could have been prevented. If they had providers that would have taken the time to listen to them, these things could have been prevented. So my daughter, everything is good. We had a great situation. And at the time, my partner was adverse to a doula because she was very medicine driven. She was like, what I need a doula for? So when we got to the hospital, and they started talking about medications they want to give her and all these different things. Well, she knows what that means in the pharmacy, but not in the labor delivery room. So she was like, hey, can you create a group chat with your doula friend? So I did that. So Kyra was able to help her through that whole process. So then she understood how important a doula was and what that meant for her as for support. So fast forward, my son comes the next year, same thing, no issues at all. So last year I reached out to Kyra, I was like, man, can you provide training for the men in our Dear Fathers community the same way that you did for me? And she said yes without any hesitation, and literally wrote a 45-page curriculum for Black men dealing with labor delivery, postpartum, everything that goes into it, right? So we implemented that on October 1st of 2024. We just finished our third cohort a couple weeks ago. Today, we have over 250 men that have gone through the programming that spans 38 states across the country. And then we had 2 guys from Germany that tapped in as well. So thank you. So Kyra being a full spectrum doula, she's done it all. She's done hundreds of births. So when we go into partner advocacy, she's giving these scenarios. These are real life situations. So men are able to understand like anything can happen. And if it does, this is how you can navigate that situation because this has happened in real life. Someone was able to navigate that, right? The amazing thing is when we train doulas, because of how insurance and everything pays out, those doulas have to go to areas that can afford their doula services, right? When we're training men, they're going into the community, they're telling their fraternity brothers, they're telling their cousins, they're telling their friends who are expecting about their experience. So we have 100% of people telling other folks, right? We have guys that are coming to cohorts because someone else that they know came into it and they were so excited they shared the knowledge with them. When we had a perinatal mood disorder workshop back in April, we had 66 men that participated in that workshop. 22 of them signed up so fast that we didn't even realize they signed up for the next cohort. So equipping men with understanding what their role is, giving them a voice and giving them a task, these men are showing up. So we have to put more emphasis in trusting men to show up the way they are. And like Tre'Sean said, he was doing the research. He was going out talking to doulas and he was doing the work. That's what these men are doing in our community. So we do have a partnership with Healthy Start for Louisville. So however we can get guys signed up, if I can leave any information, let's do that. But like I said, we're across the country, but areas like Louisville that is not, it's very similar to St. Louis, Missouri. That's where we need to focus, our energies and making sure the guys get signed up in these areas.
Thank you for that. And I just want to say, when he said perinatal mood disorders, that typically develops for people who are pregnant or either postpartum. That can be anywhere from depression, postpartum, anxiety, but it can also be PTSD that people are experiencing because they're having these poor birthing experiences, whether it's through the healthcare system or just something did not go right as they expected. So it's also important for men to know mental health comes up for your partner, but then also it's 1 in 7 for women to experience perinatal mood and anxiety disorders. It's 1 in 10 for you all. And so the more likely that the woman is experiencing it, you're more likely to also. So yes, it does happen to men as well. Dr. Miller, we have been in conversation and we talk about these things, but I don't know if everybody has a full grasp of what is really happening in Kentucky. Can you speak to that? Can you talk about some of the things that you are doing and championing, and how can we help support you too so that it all comes together as a collective?
Yeah. So we've had a lot of talk about doulas so far today. Right now, Kentucky's in conversations, but we currently insurance companies do not pay. Most insurance companies do not pay for doula services as a part of your prenatal care, despite evidence and research showing that it should be that doulas make provide better outcomes. Um, in Kentucky and in Louisville, um, today the zip code you're born in dictates your life expectancy. If you were born in West Louisville, so literally like 2 miles from where U of L is, your life expectancy is 14 years shorter than if you were born in J Town, and that's just it. Um, your odds of getting diabetes, hypertension, having a heart attack are 5 times larger if you live in West Louisville. And we all know the demographics and the segregation that's going on in Louisville as well. And in reality, what you're saying is if you are Black in Louisville, your life expectancy is 14 years shorter than if you're white. That's just an easy way to kind of claim it. But if you go back further, if you are a Black baby being born in Louisville, you are 8 times more likely to be born preterm. You are 3 times more likely to be born via cesarean section. You're 18 times more likely to be in the NICU at some point in your life. You are 5 times more likely to die by your first year of age. And those are just facts, regardless of your income, regardless of, like we said, your educational level. So I think people that make laws and rules think that maternal health starts when a woman gets pregnant, but maternal health starts when a baby's born. Um, and it's a reframing of how we treat and how we care and how we consider maternal health. Um, the best way to have a healthy pregnancy is to have a healthy mom and dad going into the pregnancy. The best way to have bad outcomes is to have lack of access and provide access for 16 months. So I'll give you an example. If you are in Louisville and you have Medicaid and you are uninsured, you get Medicaid as a part of being pregnant. So you may have diabetes, hypertension, you may have cardiovascular disease. And what you get is emergency Medicaid. You get coverage for your pregnancy and 6 weeks after you deliver. So you may have diabetes and for the first time in your life have control of your disease, for the first time of your life have access to medication. You may make the best progress you've ever made, but 6 weeks after you have your baby, it's gone. And then what happens? You are more likely to miss days of work because you're in the emergency room. You're more likely to have end-stage disease because things go wrong. Your kids are more likely to not graduate from high school. It's a cycle, it's a system. So the best way to have a healthy pregnancy is to reframe how we consider what maternal health is. Maternal health starts the moment a woman gets a positive pregnancy test, the moment they are born, that's when a healthy pregnancy starts.
Thank you for that. And because you brought up Medicaid, we're experiencing Medicaid cuts.
Everything's good.
Dr. Miller, how is that impacting the work that you do, and how is that going to impact the people sitting in this room?
Yeah, so you guys might have heard we at U of L we were opening a birthing center in South Louisville that was going to be midwifery and doula ran. Because of the big disastrous bill that passed, it's actually on hold, and it's for us in this room, it's not going to happen because Medicaid cuts, because the patients that are going to deliver there are largely Medicaid, and we can't. It's just financially impossible. Medicaid. Medicaid supports lives. Medicaid supports futures. Medicaid supports babies. Medicaid is a foundation. If you think that healthcare is a right, you believe in Medicaid. And I'll give one other example. So if you have a baby that's born preterm and in the NICU, has anyone heard of the term $1 million baby? Raise your hand if you have. Okay. So this is how gross medicine is, okay? So if you are a mom who has diabetes, right? And you don't have insurance, you can't afford your medication, you are more likely to give birth preterm. So you give birth to a 28-week baby. That baby's going to the NICU. That baby has insurance paid for by the government. That baby has Medicaid. If you give birth to a 28-week baby, that baby's hospital bill is going to be $1 million that is going to be reimbursed in full to the hospital center. And think about this. How many children's hospitals have you guys heard of? We have one here, right? Norton, right? How many women's hospitals do you have? They don't want healthy women because they need sick babies to fund everything else. They keep women sick to make babies go to the NICU and pay for everything else. So if you want Medicaid, if you advance Medicaid, you'd have less babies in the NICU. All of us in this room should want children's hospitals to close because there are no sick babies, right? And there are no sick kids. but hospitals know that that's where their money is because those babies are insured. You could get rid of 40% of NICU babies by giving moms insurance and access to care. It's that simple. And hospitals would save money and society would save money because $1 million bill versus giving a mom $500 worth of insulin during pregnancy.
Whew. Y'all sitting with that for a little bit? You know, whether you have had children, you have not had children, you choose to have children, you choose not to have children, which is some of the tenets of reproductive justice that SisterSong upholds, it still impacts you. Those are still your children in the community. Those are still your children that are showing up to the community center, the classroom. So indirectly, it impacts you, or for some of you all, directly, it's impacting you, or someone that you know. Tre'Sean and Dr. White, what's that like to listen to that, you know, as parents?
I mean, I would say it's eye-opening to know. Thankfully, you know, I have a job to where I can put her on my insurance and not really have to worry about certain things. But, you know, what if I didn't? You know, what if I was in a situation where I wasn't? And so, you know, that creates another barrier, it sounds like. And so I'm just thankful and blessed to be in that position, but to hear that is the process and that's the situation that is taking place, it's really alarming. And yeah, I really don't even know what to say to that, to be honest. Again, I'm just thankful that I'm in a situation to where I could take care of her and she'd be straight. But, you know, now hearing that, it's like all I can think about is what if I didn't have that? You know, what if I wasn't able to, or what if I wasn't in that position? Yeah, it's scary. It's really scary.
Yeah. What about you, Dr. White?
For me, it's definitely uncovering a veil that I definitely wasn't aware of. You know, we try to prepare as much as we can, and we think that we're doing everything in regards to healthcare, finances, making sure everything is set up appropriately for when that time comes. But there's always some nuanced things that we may not be familiar with. So this definitely put me in a position to just look at a process whenever that process comes again in my life. With a different lens, definitely with a different lens.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask one more question to the panel, but I want you all to be thinking about what questions you all want to ask to the panel. Even if you have comments, you want to share some things coming up as well. So my question to you all is, how can we build care models that see Black men not as background figures, but as emotional anchors and protectors within their families? How can we build care models that see Black men not as background figures, but as emotional anchors and protectors within their families? Anybody want to start?
I was just gonna, I guess, you know, doing a little bit more research and more studying in regards to emotional intelligence. I think that would definitely help in regards to being able to position yourself as anchor. I think that's something not just with Black men. I think with humanity now, where we're going with, and this is me going somewhere else a little bit with social media. We've isolated ourselves, and I think we are the most illiterate in this moment in regards to emotional intelligence. And if we can't be emotionally intelligent in that specific space, then we can't be the anchors or know how to be that support person or that anchor in that home when it comes to maternal health care for the mom, or for the mother and for the family.
Anyone else?
I mean, I just want to piggyback off what Maurice said. I think, of course, having that emotional intelligence is key, but also being aware of conscious discipline, and also, you know, knowing what works for your child, and, you know, going forward as far as, you know, not necessarily like whooping them or, you know, putting their hands on them, because, you know, I come from that era. But, you know, there's ways now to where, you know, you can just really meet your kid where they at, you know, kind of like get down on their knee, talk to them, figure out what's going on, figure out the root of the problem. So that way they feel more emotionally supported, you know. I grew up in a house where there was a lot of yelling, a lot of screaming. And so I kind of became the piece that I didn't have. And so now that I am a father going forward is being aware of those, like Maurice said, just having that emotional intelligence, being able to read the room, you know what I mean? And kind of decipher and figure out like, okay, what can I do to better the situation or alleviate the situation? Or, you know, if I see Courtney kind of being overwhelmed, it's like, okay, where can I step in to, you know, kind of take the pressure off of her and make it a little bit easier. So I think it's just being knowledgeable about certain things and kind of just being aware of the situation, but also having that bandwidth of emotional intelligence and conscious discipline, because it can really go a long way.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback off of what Maurice said, like I feel like right now we have more access to information and seeing what people are going through. But like he said, like we're more disconnected than we ever been, and that's so wild to me. But as it relates to fathers, just acknowledging that they exist as humans. So that's providing grace, that's providing what we found to be successful with their fathers, and that's providing spaces. I was telling Tre'Sean earlier, him putting his emotions and everything on film, that's gonna allow someone else to see that and understand that the same thing that they're feeling, he's feeling, right? And that normalizes that shared experience, that shared feelings. As men, we bottle a lot of that stuff up. One of my good friends is here in the crowd now, and we've had some amazing conversations over the last couple of years navigating our own situations. But because we're sharing that, because we're pouring into one another, because we're having that vulnerability, that allows us to be better for our families and our communities as a whole. Mental health is all about this strength and vulnerability, understanding where you need the assistance and where you need the help, and also recognizing that in others and pouring that into one of your brothers, your sisters, whoever the case is. As we create more emotionally intelligent men, we create more stable families and a more stable community.
So, question for the women and for the men in the group. Amongst Black, Latina, Asian, and white women, what group starts their periods first?
What do y'all say?
Black girls start their periods first, average age of 11. What group starts their periods last? White women. Why do you think that is? There's a stress. There is a stress, it's diet, which is all actually, I think, related and interrelated to environment. It's this idea in medicine called weathering, where there is a trauma of Blackness that happens. And your period is hormonal. Your period is a fight or flight stress response. And quite simply, Black girls have to grow up faster than white girls do. So they start their periods faster. If you look in Africa, African girls start their periods when white girls do in America. So there's a stressness of Blackness in America. So I think the answer to this question is two-part. Number one, identifying and accepting that stress and trauma is a fact of our lives, whether we like it or not. It's a fact of how we grow up. And number two is, like your work, creating spaces to not only talk about that stress and talk about that trauma, but also creating opportunities and spaces for us to show up.
My name is C.J. Carter. And my question is, we know that as Black men, there's been a war against us since the inception of this country. And then when you think about Black fatherhood, we don't have any positive images of Black fatherhood. And you spoke about a trauma. What can we do as Black men and Black fathers to kind of right the cycles of trauma that we're all facing? How do we create those spaces to be vulnerable, like Tre'Sean was in this video? Because as men, we know that it's not acceptable to be vulnerable. And a lot of us are afraid to be vulnerable. So how do we heal those cycles of trauma to create spaces for men to be more vulnerable?
Oh man, well, I it goes back to what you mentioned about spaces. And we do have Black role models, like tons of them. And I think Louisville is rich with organizations, groups, and everything else. it's the promotion, the lack of promotion. That's not the thing that's being pushed. The great men that are doing the great work aren't the ones that are always being highlighted nationally. You may see them every now and again on WLKY or some other news station, maybe, but we have to learn how to combat what exists in regards to the negative image of black men. You know what I'm saying? And just if we have a space or we have an initiative that we do, we just got to make sure that we double down because we know what social media is doing and TV is doing. So you got to imagine that, okay, I'm fighting two different people versus me just it being a heads up one-on-one fade. You know what I'm saying? So for the guys and the men in this room and the guys and the men in this room that know other men that do the work, it's time for us to really just double down on the great work that we already do.
To what you said, like one of my favorite Huey P. Newton quotes is, "I do not expect the white media to create positive black images." So we're not going to get that in mainstream media, right? So I think it's important for us to create our own narratives. I think the reason, like our platform, we didn't know what we had when we started it. We look now, we have over 450,000 followers. We're reaching tens of millions of people every month. And that's because people are tired of seeing the criminalized black man, right? We're seeing all these positive images of fathers, of families, and really just addressing what fatherhood truly looks like. It's no blueprint to it. It's not going to be perfect all the time. So when we're having real conversations and we're addressing some of the things that have been traumatic and not the most positive in our past within our community, but we're finding ways to address it and correct it going forward, those are real conversations. Those are things that help us move in a progressive manner. So we have to take charge of creating our own narratives, telling our own stories, right? And we talk about the absent black father. It does exist, but to the level at which mainstream media tells us, it's furthest from the truth. The CDC even tells us that, right? But that's not what was pushed. So just continuing to create spaces to have these conversations, even just in small groups amongst each other in the community, the barbershops, the community centers, like we're doing right now, talking about this. These are all things that help push the true narrative and help us overcome those kind of things.
Can I add? Can I piggyback one more? And you can. My wife can even hold my back to this. Like, no matter how wrong I've ever been done by one of our own or whatever the case may be, I never go to social media and be, just complain or whatever the case may be or talk bad about that person. And I'm going to use, and in no form or fashion, I'm not trying to offend anyone. Kevin Samuels, for example, he was what he was. I didn't agree with some of the things that he did, but there were a lot of great points when it came to black men. He really urged for black men to do better, look better, pull your pants up. Why don't you want to put on a tie? Why don't you want to work hard for your family? A lot of good principles came from that. But if there's one inklet of a thing that you disagree with, sometimes we, with our culture, we roll with it and we campaign against that person. So we got to stop doing that as well, because again, like I said, Louisville is rich with a lot of great men who do a lot of great work in a lot of great groups and organizations. But if they fall short in one place, we got to allow them to fall short and just say, and hold them accountable and say, hey, bro, we didn't like that situation you had with your wife or with your girl. You shouldn't do that in public. You're making yourself look bad. All right. But we do it in private, though. You know what I'm saying? We got away from that. We really got away from that. You just got to continue to stop campaigning against each other whenever something we disagree.
That's very real. Like we got to stop doing that in front of company, right? I saw when Hulk Hogan died, like all these black people, and nothing. I mean, if you like Hulk Hogan, what I'm saying, more power to you. But they were uplifting the character of Hulk Hogan and almost forgiving him for what he really said as a person. And it really angered me because their heroes could tell you how much they hate you, and you will still find an excuse. but they'll villainize, tear down the legacy of your heroes, and you run with it. You accept it. You piggyback with them, and I hate that, because how many heroes, how many legacies are we gonna have left if we allow them to dictate how we're supposed to feel about them, and we just continue to uplift their heroes? So now I'm right there with you, Maurice.
We can clap for that one, though.
Hey, everybody. My name is Leah Jones, and I serve as the Director of Maternal Health and Birth Equity Initiatives at SisterSong, based out of Atlanta. So thank you to Ananicia for everything you've been doing in Louisville and this conversation that has been much needed within our organization. Like Ananicia mentioned, the Trust Black Women campaign started from racist billboards that came up shaming Black women for their choices around pregnancy termination and abortion. And they came up in, much like Louisville, we have a West End of Atlanta, and they would only come up in the West End, very targeted messaging. And so that's where our campaign came from. And also, like she mentioned, it's also the human right to not have a child. And so when we're in states like Kentucky that are full abortion ban states, everything that Dr. Miller said is now Black women are being forced into that, right? They're not being able to make the choices to not have a child. And I know this conversation gets layered around conservatism or religion, but I really want y'all to hear what he's saying. This is not about religion, it's about health and a person's life and ability to make the choice to not have a child. So I guess it's a statement and a question of, like, what do you all think your role is in standing on the front lines, not just for maternal health, but for being on the front lines for pro-choice marches or pro-choice conversations. So we all, because here's the thing, y'all are being forced into pregnancies too. It's not just us. So I'm just curious of, like, where you all, or what your ideas around that is, and where can we get your support when we do have to have those types of conversations as well?
You know, I think everything starts with a conversation amongst your peers. And again, I really think that it goes back to that conversation I had about unraveling that confusion that most Black men have when they think that, you know, these women, they just want to be able to make a choice, this, that, and the other. We really got to start changing the conversation, fellas, and start having a conversation with other Black men. Like, no, this is the same thing as fighting for the human rights. So, you know what I'm saying? So we have to make sure that we unravel that conversation and unravel any confusion just amongst conversation, even if we agree or disagree. But for me, that's being on the front line. If I can't have that conversation in private with my peers, then I'm being fake completely, and I'm just showing up to be here, you know, for show. So we definitely got to start having that conversation in private and unraveling any confusions that our friends might have, because we're privileged for being here. We're privileged to information that our friends or our guys, our family, our brothers, our fraternity brothers, first of all, servants of all, you transcend all. We got to make sure that we not only taking that information, but we're sharing that information.
I think that when Roe fell and the Dobbs decision was made, I think that the people that voted to restrict abortion access knew that the people that they loved would still have access to abortion. And they call it weekend trips to Chicago, weekend trips to Illinois, shopping trips. And there's a danger in that, because they know that the people that don't have access to abortion are the people who having to bring a pregnancy into the world will cause the biggest impact, not just on their lives, but on generations. But I also want to give an example. I think that this pro-life, pro-choice is a horribly phrased comment, because I consider myself a pro-life person. I think it just depends on whose life you're looking at. And I think it varies. So I consider myself pro-life, but I also am pro-abortion. And I think you can be both. So I'll give an example of a patient whose baby was diagnosed at 14 weeks with a lethal anomaly. So the baby was basically going to grow inside of her, but the moment the baby was disconnected from mom, the baby was going to die. And in Kentucky, we cannot do abortion for a baby reason. We can do it if it's going to cost the life of the mother, not if it's going to cost the life of the mom. So a patient asked me, so you're telling me I have to push this baby out of me, hook it up to a machine, and then turn off the machine? And you said, yeah. There's no difference. it's no less humane or inhumane, but it is much less humane for that woman to have to go through that. That's it.
I think for us, I'm pro-choice. I think it's just about, like my man said, having the conversations. The more access to information and knowledge, the better off we are as Black men. With our course, we start off with the history of gynecology. We literally start at why this is a needed resource and why this is something important, because the protection has never been there for Black women. So whether it's you're talking about any issues with the pregnancy, abortions, whatever the case is, just understanding how at risk that Black woman is at least a foundation of a conversation, and then we can make informed decisions based off of that.
You mentioned the history of gynecology. For women in the room, has anyone ever heard of the name Marion Sims?
Yes.
Raise your hand if you have. Okay. So Marion Sims was a physician from, I believe, began in Alabama and moved. And he became famous because he operated on slave women. And basically, slave owners would say, this female can't work and we need to get her back in working shape. So they would send them to this doctor. And he developed, for women in the room everyone's had a pap smear or a speculum exam. For women in the room, the speculum exam is called a Sims speculum, SIMS. We use it to this day. And he developed this speculum, or this way to look through the vagina at the cervix, because he quoted saying he never wanted to physically have to touch the most grotesque part of a human. So basically, he developed this device because he never wanted to actually have to touch a Black woman's vagina. And it's called the Sims speculum. And we still use it today. We still put it inside Black women today. And if you want to think about this, and I say this all the time, I don't use a Sims speculum. I refuse. I made them spend extra money to use a different one. Can you ever imagine a speculum created on Jewish women called the Hitler, that you inserted into Jewish women and saying, hand me the Hitler, and putting it inside and them being okay with it? It would be off the shelves tomorrow. Yet we use it today and we don't tell anyone. And it's literally still going. That is like, that's it. When you talk about outcomes, when you talk about this, and people know about it now, and we still do it. It's not enough to get it off the shelves. It's not enough to get it out of the hospitals. That's why we have the outcomes we have today.
Thank you for bringing that part of history in. Go to the next question.
Hello, everyone. My name is Terrence Williams. I'm glad to be here. Thank you, panel. Thank you, Anna. Doing a wonderful job. SisterSong. Piggyback on some of the things that the panel was discussing and such, as we all here as men, and to get the support of the women is outstanding also. Three things. I'm glad to have my two sons next to me too, so that means a lot to me. Two things. I always say to my sons and to my daughter, trifecta, I look at it, is God is the temple, okay? Then you go down, you have to have your family. You can't choose your family. You have your family, then it's self-preservation. So one should know him or herself. When you connect the three, you have the trifecta, okay? It's very needed in our community today. Also, I'm born in the early 60s, so I have seen and heard a lot of things. With the young Black folks today, it's a lack of knowing. The information's been lost. I don't have to go in detail. We know how that is, and things came about. So history and things been lost in the process of things, which hurts us as African-American men and women and as a community. So the trifecta thing is important to us, I believe, and each one teach one, you know? That's the way I was raised. Each one teach one, and we should do better by each other with the knowledge that we bring. I have a young guy that looks up to me. He's 45. And I didn't know this until the other day. I recently lost my mother. And he was telling me, give me my flowers while I'm living, which is great. So I said, I hope I don't disappoint you. What he had added by me showing that I'm working with kids on a daily because I'm a school bus driver, okay? So by me presenting myself and saying good morning to them, they're the first ones that they actually see is me, the driver. And me having a positive approach and positive understanding, I give them back that feedback. And sometimes the little kids, the preschools, because little kids let you know they don't like you or whatever. It is what it is. So they come up preschool once they get used to me and such, and they give me a hug. And they let me know that I'm doing the job that I'm supposed to do.
You just want to give that statement. Y'all, that's my father, by the way.
Oh, that's why you was giving them grace.
Yeah, I was giving him grace and being long-winded, but I'm also glad that he brought my brothers out here as well because they are fathers too. And so do you want to open up the space for any more questions and comments or anything that you want to contribute to the space? You want to say something, Morgan? Okay, Morgan.
My name is Morgan White, and I'm Dr. White's daughter. And this is for all the fathers in here. What's the best part of being a father?
That was amazing. Can we give her a round of
I'm going to save my response for last. I'm going to let them go, and then I'm going to...
Morgan, I appreciate your courage standing up and asking that question. I probably am the newest father in the room. I would say for me is being able to wake up and see that beautiful smile every day. Knowing like I'm responsible for another human being. Just watching her grow, watching her develop, hitting all the milestones. It's super, super rewarding. And like I said, everything I do now, like she's in the forefront. There's nothing that I do where I don't think about her or, she's not in the equation. And so the most rewarding thing for me is just knowing that, get to be able to wake up to see that face, to see that smile and have that reassurance. Like Maurice said in the video, is just that unconditional love is unmatched. So, yeah.
For me, everything I'm doing right now, like even the Dear Fathers platform, like I would not be a part of this if it wasn't for my two kids. So I make sure in every interview, anything I do that they can go back and read or watch, I make sure that they're mentioned. I make sure that they understand that they're my why, so that they know that they've impacted so many lives across the country without their knowledge because they were the driving force, and that they have the spirit and the energy in them to do the same thing. I want them to grow up and be kind to people. And I just see how they do that right now. Like my son models everything I do, and I recognize that. So I know it's important for me to continue to be the role model for him that I can be, and for be the influence. And the best part for me so far with my daughter, like it's probably small, but for me it was like amazing. I was at the farmer's market and saw like this little crochet Tiana doll, Princess Tiana, and I bought it for her. And she will not go anywhere without this Tiana. She will not take a nap at school without this Tiana. She loses it. She leaves it at home. She loses her mind. Like she wants her Tiana. And that was hella cool to me because like I bought something for you that you cherish so much. Like it almost brought it brought tears in my eyes. Like I cried because she cares that much that her dad bought her that and she wants to hold on to it.
I got 6 months, so I'm taking notes.
Man, for me, like I mentioned in the video, it's very difficult for me to put it in words because it's a thing that I can't explain. It's not anything that's tangible. But I will say recently I learned something when, I get to the point where I know I'm intentionally being the best version of myself. There's something that occurs with my youngest daughter or my oldest daughter that puts me in the position where I gotta kick it into the next gear. I was like, dang, I thought that was the best version of me. I thought that was me being intentional. And they always help me to find something else new. So that's definitely what I appreciate. But again, I can't put it in words. I just love you, girl. All right. I just, man, I really can't put it in words. It's like breathing. It's like I wake up, I'm supposed to do this. Like you don't tell yourself when to wake up, you just wake up most times. You don't tell yourself when to breathe, you just do it. I don't tell myself to be a father, I just do it. But again, being the best version of myself, I can say that's something I recently learned. They helped me to kick things into the next gear so I can I could go from, Dr. White 4.0 to Dr. White 5.0 or whatever the case may be. And I know there's some more gears and some more levels they're going to probably take me into.
I want to say real quick to what Papa Williams was saying about our history. I'm a firm believer that if we don't understand our history and where we came from, we don't understand how we got to where we're at currently and how to properly move forward. So we'll make the same mistakes going forward because we don't understand how that affected us in the past. And I've been fortunate enough to go to schools growing up that emphasize Black history since I was a young kid. So I really thought that was always the norm. I was fortunate enough to go to Fisk University where I learned about W.B. Du Bois and all these other great Black leaders. So I know that as Black people, we're organizers, we're leaders, we're the culture. Like nothing exists how it is without us, right? But if we're not emphasizing that, like you said, if we lose that, we lose a lot of who we are and what we're capable of doing. And these young kids won't understand. I mean, hell, I saw in 2020, a lot of people my age didn't know about Tulsa, Oklahoma. They didn't know about Black Wall Street. They didn't know about East St. Louis and how these thriving neighborhoods, communities existed and were torn down because they just existed, right? So I would love to say that I want us to make more of an emphasis on understanding our history, teaching that, having these conversations, talk about these great leaders and community people that we had and we have had and that we currently have, so we can make sure some of these legacies continue to live on as they should.
Thank you for that. And Dr. Miller, did I pick that up? You say you got 6 months. Did y'all catch that?
Yes, I know. Surprise.
Okay.
Congrats.
He's becoming a dad, y'all. How exciting. I'm going to go here and then.
So I just wanted to share a resource that SisterSong has. If you're not able to be a part of Brad's cohort, we do have a training called the Labor Support Training. It's for lack of a better word, a crash course. If you don't want to necessarily go to be a doula, you will be trained on what to expect during birth and labor, and the signs to pick up if things aren't just going the way that they should. We talk about hypertension, preeclampsia. If you have those conditions that Dr. Miller mentioned, what are the red flags that you need to be aware of? I mean, we heard Serena Williams' story, and she's a millionaire. And if she did not know her body and the things to pay attention to, we don't know if we would have Serena here today. So we have that resource. Shanti Moore leads that training. It's virtual and it's free. So if you have young folks, young men, or people who are going to be in the hospital rooms assisting, if they're able to, because not all hospitals allow doulas in, right? So if you have a cousin going to a birth with you, or a partner, or a husband, a spouse, I think it's important to just have very basic level understanding of what to expect during labor. And then also we have the Birth Justice Care Fund. It's shut down right now because people need these items. So the Birth Justice Care Fund awards people with basic stuff like diapers, wipes, car seats, strollers. We've probably awarded over $1 million in the last couple of years, 5 years. We opened up in May and had to shut down in June because in the 4 states, they needed it. And as we have threats to Medicaid and everything else and state budget cuts, we'll probably see that more. So it won't open up until next year again, but we're working to get it opened up this year. But just remember, Birth Justice Care Fund with SisterSong, it's free money, free access to not just those items, but doulas, lactation support consultants, and maternal mental health therapists. So yeah, just wanted to throw those resources out there.
Good evening, everyone. Theron Cunningham. I wanted to Dr. White, your daughter, wanted to answer her question about what's the greatest thing about being a dad, and listening to the story and the narratives that you've been talking about at this season in life, being 52, my youngest is 23. And I tell people all the time, like it's the whole thing, being able to hear you describe being in the birthing room. My youngest daughter, my son, I ended up on the floor. I was telling the young brother that was beside me, I was like, it's kind of it's the wildest, and it's so many things from our perspective. Seeing a child born, we're not ready for it. You can't prep yourself for that, right? But one of the greatest compliments that I was given by a young brother who attended a similar event like this that I was able to host. He and my daughter worked together at a Walgreens in our community. Tell people all the time, I raised my family on the 600 block of 35th Street. If you know the 600 block of 35th Street, that means something. He told me at that event, so some of the things we went through, principles of fatherhood, some things we was trying to encourage young fathers on. He said after the event, he said, I know your daughter, but I know you better because I hear you through your daughter when she speaks. When talking about relationships, when talking about life aspirations, when talking about how she carries herself, he said, I understand how she does and who she is and how she is who she is because I've heard you speak. And that was one of the greatest, to say that, to be able to see ourselves through our children, but not trying to, live through them, but as you said, to literally pour into their lives the principles and the teachables that we're trying to present to them, to see them walk through that. My son was probably the most challenging as a student for the three of them. For him to walk across the stage at a college graduation, it was probably about as emotional as seeing him born, because he's not a natural student. And graduating during the pandemic and the quarantine, that was crazy, right? And so I'm saying like one of the greatest things of being a father is walking through the seasons of life, seeing your children begin to pick up on the things that you've been trying to pick up, lay down for them. Then also at this season, sitting back and being like crazy proud of the adults that they are becoming. I told my son last night, you raise children, you support adults. I'm in a season of life to where I've raised my children to adults, and now I'm able to support them as they go into the life that I believe God has for them.
I like that.
I love that. That's real.
Cunningham, I just want to give you your flowers. So early on in my career, I was being supervised by Mr. Cunningham at Frost Middle School. And as a new parent, I want you to know who was raising my daughter on my own, you also was a mentor to me of what fatherhood looks like. So I just want people in this room to know that too. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Gwen Brewer, and I'm with the Healthy Start program. But I'm out in the community every day. I do recruits. I recruit for Healthy Start. And so I do events all just constantly. And one of the questions that I've faced, and I think it just upsets me when I'm walking up talking to a pregnant mother, and they're like 6 or 7, 8 months pregnant. So one of our questions that we have is, because we trying to engage the fathers. So I asked them about the father, is the father involved? And it always comes, the answer is no father involved. And I'm like, well, where are they? They're in jail. Okay, so you 6 or 7 months pregnant, but the dad is nowhere in the picture. And, it really bothers me because I guess, I look at the black family, we have to bring back that father in the home. And, we've been taken out for a long, and I tell people all the time, if you go back during the early 60s, the late 50s, when the welfare thing came out, the thing was in order for when the welfare system started in the black family, if you wanted assistance from the governor, the father had to leave. There could be no father in the home. And we are still dealing with this today. This is still happening to us today. And it really breaks my heart. I grew up with my mother and father. They raised 12 children. It was 12 of us. And all of us went to college. And that was a thing, if we didn't complete it, but we went to some kind of secondary education. It was a thing that our father, he worked 3 jobs to do it. My mother was a homemaker, stayed, and did cleaning, but that was a thing that was their morals. That's what morals that they believed in, that, that we had. They never did they live off of welfare. And the thing I know, I try to tell families, and I guess when I'm out talking to them, and I worked for Head Start, so that's where I started from. So I've been around the single mothers, families for years, and I worked for a program then called the Parent-Child Center. Had to face the thing of parents, because the mother and father may have separated. And the thing was, at the time, if the father wasn't working, the black woman always say, when they get upset with the black father, the man, because they weren't paying child support, I'm going to turn him into child support. So you know what happened. If you didn't pay child support, what happened? You go to court, bye, you gone. And that's the thing, I guess, I always ask myself and my coworkers and just the community, period, how do we change this? How do we change to get and I'm going to have to really, because it's the mother that's saying it, how do we bring that unity? How do we bring back the black family institution? How do we build that back up? And I think, I just do believe, if all of us is in this room, and I really enjoyed everything you all, I have every word you all have said. I really am going to follow you. I'm going to bring you to Healthy Start. I don't know how you're going to do it, but I'm going to do it, because we need you all's voices in the community. And Dr. White, as you said, we don't need the cameras. We don't need WLKY. We don't need WDRB. They don't need to tell us how we do. You all are sitting here. We're sitting here, and we have to go about and change this system, and we've got to do it. We can't depend on Medicaid anymore. We've got to educate the health of our families. But this is a thing, and I challenge, I'll take the challenge with you all. And I know, as my brother-in-law always say, he's the old one, and I'm probably the old one in here, right? But I change, because this is a passion for me, is a black family, and building them to have a 2-parent family. So I just, whatever I can do, whatever, I'm here. Tell me, and I'm here. I'll go, because just that we've got to speak this word. We've got to change, and we've got to quit. And I know we've got resources, and we give them and give and give. But our biggest resource is bringing that family together, where your daughter can say, what is the thing about being a father? Tell me. And not only for her, but all of our children to say this. And I go.
We got a question.
Thank you, Ms. Gwen. Okay, young man.
What is the thing that you prioritize by being a dad?
Y'all want to go
Prioritize.
first?
What do you prioritize about being a father?
Man, as much as it is important for my own personal well-being, but I got to be honest of the way my life works, and life is life, and my well-being, sometimes it gets put to the side, and I have to make sure that the the kids are prioritized first. Baby, I love you. I love that's my wife. Without her, the kids wouldn't be here. But those are the thing, not the things, but those are the seeds that we planted and we brought into this world. So with that said, they're our responsibility. And a lot of times I have to put my own happiness to the side at times. I have to put, my well-being to the side at times, but never my mental health though. Never my mental health. I would definitely say that. But the number one priority is the children and making sure that they're learning like the good brother said, learning the lessons that they need to learn, and me being intentional about teaching those lessons.
No, I love that. I just want to piggyback off of that. I would say for me, as being a new father, is time management. Really navigating and maneuvering to where I can put myself in a position to make sure everybody's straight and make sure everybody is where they need to be as well. So, having 2 jobs, having a business, but knowing that I'm a father first is the biggest thing. And so, honestly, it's just being the head of the snake, as Maurice also is alluding to, is we may put our feelings and our emotions and things to a side as a sacrifice, but we also have to be well mentally in order to lead and to provide. And so just being mindful of those things. But I would say for me right now as a new father in this new journey is time management, making sure that I know everything is on my calendar, even if it's not, just having it up here, being mentally prepared and ready to endure whatever it is that the schedule is taking on, the calendar is taking on, the world's taking on. And so, just being mentally prepared is priority. And of course, time management is priority.
Can I add something? Another. I just thought about it as well. A big priority is for me is to make sure that they have the things that I didn't have. And when I say the things, I'm not talking about, tangible things. I'm just talking about the lessons and the experiences that my mother and my father couldn't provide me because of their circumstances. And I know that I'm doing, extremely better than my mother and father as well as my wife because of the position they put me in. So I want to put my children in the position to go even further, than myself and my wife. Did I answer your question? I did.
Brad, did you want to share something?
Yeah, the 2 things I prioritize, like my man Tre'Sean said, is time. And for me, that looks like when I'm with my kids, being very intentional and present. So making sure that they're feeling me when I'm there with them, and then when I'm not with them, making sure that I'm doing things that pour into myself, pour into their future, so I'm not doing anything that's jeopardizing or taking away from that. And then also treating them like humans. Like, as a kid, I can remember never being apologized to or never feeling like I could be heard or have thoughts or, or feelings about different things. So I make sure that I prioritize my kids having the opportunity to express themselves, or if my son spills something, I gave him a cup that he shouldn't have had, that's not your fault. So you don't need to apologize for that. That's daddy's fault, right? So we'll clean this up together. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you're doing something that you shouldn't be doing, like, that's on you. Then you have to answer to that, right? But making sure that he understands, that they both understand that they're humans and they have, emotions just as well as I do. And I also want to answer Ms. Gwen about the black families. And I think one of the things we could do first is eliminate all these relationship podcasts. Like, put a tariff on the podcast mics. Like, let's eliminate all the division between black women and black men. We have to trust one another. We have to be there for each other. And as long as we keep having conversations about 50-50 rent and whatever else they be talking about on there, like, we're not going to get there. But again, that goes to history and understanding that these systems were created, like she talked about, with welfare, and that's where a lot of that stuff came from, keeping the black men outside of the home. So it's a lot of resentment, it's a lot of traumas, it's a lot of different things that we have not addressed, and we're compounding it with these conversations that we're having now that don't move anyone in a productive way. And, so we're not moving in progress. So I don't know where we start, but I think it's by communicating and understanding that we have to support each other and we need each other to move forward.
As a black man, I would want to ask y'all, what do y'all think that we can do to help our youth not want to be a part of the streets?
I think to answer your question is holding each other accountable, having those tough conversations. I think like I grew up in an era to where like even if you wasn't a parent, if you seen your kid doing something wrong, somebody stepped in, and whether it was a teacher, whether it was a neighbor, whether it was guidance counselor, whether it was somebody owned the convenience store, you wasn't doing what you were supposed to do, they was going exactly. And so to that point, I think we can't have that mentality of, oh, that's not my child, or that's not my business, or I ain't got nothing to do with that. I think of course we have to be careful with that nowadays, but I think that's what's missing is that community environment, that community feel. Like it takes a village to raise a kid, and I think because of social media or because of certain people's mindsets, it's I don't need help, or I don't need this, or I don't need that, or don't tell me how to raise my kid, or that type of thing. But I think that's what's missing in today's society, and I think that's why a lot of the younger or the older generations are a little bit more successful, or or having the capacity or the mind to be successful or to have difficult conversations. Like I said, just holding each other accountable. In my opinion, I mean, I can't tell anybody what to do, but I think to answer your question is just not afraid to speak up, not being afraid to step in, not being afraid, and then deal with whatever somebody says afterwards. I
have 2 parts to that. So I think first, we talked a lot about mental health today. I think we as Black people need to teach our Black boys especially how to be the Black boy that they want to be, not that we want them to be. I'll give an example of my history. So I was born in Compton, California. I was born to a single mom, drug addicted in the late 80s. Grew up in the foster care system after my mom was killed. And I was very fortunate to be in a single foster home my entire life with a white mom and a white dad. And to be totally honest, I was very uncomfortable in all Black spaces for a lot of my life because I thought I talked funny and I talked different. And the moment I opened my mouth, people would be like, whoa, that's not normal. That's not what you're supposed to be. So I didn't talk. And I sat in the sidelines. And I knew I was smart, and I knew that, but I was like, it's better to just be quiet. Because I wanted to be what they wanted me to be, not what I wanted to be. And I had mentors, not my dad, but just a person that believed in me, a doctor that said, you know what, a white coat would look good on you, and you're smart enough to do it. And I went to medical school. I went to Howard, where I learned that there's all kinds of Black people out there. And I started becoming the Black person that I wanted to be. But that wasn't taught to me. It just happened. And that's what we have to teach our boys, is to be the Black boy that you want to be and the Black person that you want to be. And for our boys, for our kids, we have to teach them delayed gratification. We have to teach them how to work. And it's hard. We talked about trauma too. Money, success, cars, girls, it's thrown in their face from day one. You're supposed to have that at 16. At 16, kids are going to prom. Flip a dollar. I'm like, you don't have dollar bills. That's your parents. But that's what they see. That's what they want. They don't want to work. They don't want to hear, if you just work hard for 10 years, you could have the life you dreamed of. They don't want to do that. That's what we have to teach our kids, especially our boys. Because I'll tell you what, one of the brilliant things the system's doing to us right now is it's dividing us. Black girls are going to college. Black girls are graduating. Black boys are at the same rates as they were in the 70s. But Black girls aren't getting paid more. Make that make sense, right? Black women are the most educated group of any group in the country, but they get paid at the 8th highest rate. And Black men are incarcerated at nearly the same rates, and their high school graduation rates are nearly the same as they were in the 70s. We can't grow apart. We have to grow together.
I'm definitely gonna piggyback. Go ahead. Go. Give him Miss Flowers. Give him Miss Flowers. Man, first off, I'm gonna start with us though. We gotta stop lying. When I say stop lying, is we gotta stop. We have to give these young people more grace because we think that ain't how you supposed to act, but we get so far away from what we used to do. I could tell you a list of, and I mean, dumb, stupid stuff that I did, and we don't give these young people enough grace. We just think if we tell them and we hold them accountable, they're supposed to get it and they're supposed to do it. It doesn't happen that way. And getting back to delayed gratification, the way lessons were taught to us and principles were given to us, we have to take a different approach because we're fighting against a different type of machine. The social media situation, it literally affects the way gratification works in our brains. With us knowing that now, us, the adults, we have to take a different approach, and we gotta work a little bit harder. If it means taking away, if any of us are raising young teenagers or whatever the case may be, taking away the phones, taking away the devices, we have to do it. And if they say, well, that's how they communicate, how did we communicate before that? It was face to face. They're not gonna die. They're not gonna lose anything. They're not gonna be hurt. If you need to get in contact with them, call the school. I'm in plenty of different schools, and I know that if you call the office, they will. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm getting there.
No, thank you.
But we got to take the devices away. Or if not that, we have to find a different approach, and we have to stop lying and provide the grace that these, specifically the young men, need. We did a lot of stupid stuff. Go back to the stupid version of yourself and get a reminder. That will allow you to have a little bit more empathy.
I think representation plays a huge part. What are they seeing on a regular basis? What is being glorified? Negativity gets way more likes, way more shares than the positive stories, and I mean that's what's feeding into their minds, right? I believe that if we put the people in front of them that we want them to mirror, like this brother right here, his story, for him to be where he's at right now, it's a young brother that's in his same situation that he was in that needs to hear that story, that needs to know that, right? But he's not seeing that. You know what I'm saying? So I think the more that they can see success and people that look like them and know that there's a different path to take, and we start putting that in front of them, that's something for them to take away from. I was fortunate enough to do a mentorship program with a school district during the pandemic, and I brought in people from across the country that were from St. Louis but lived in different areas. We talked about people that were lawyers for Boeing, where they do contracts for missiles and stuff like that. And a lot of young ladies, they came in wanting to be estheticians, but after they talked to some of these women, they were like, oh, there's other options. And I saw a lot of the young black girls, to be honest, the young black girls, they were the most engaged. They were the ones asking the most questions, right? So I don't know what the disconnect is for young black boys, but those young women seeing that, oh, this girl looks like me, she's fly as hell, and she got everything she got by being educated, by having this dope job, like that was enough for them. So for our young men, they just got to see more of that, you know what I'm saying, within our communities and more brothers going back to reach them.
All right, thank you for that. So we just brought up Royce to the stage as well, and I want Royce to share with you some of the work that he does, and please mention your background, and then also something that's coming up, so the conversations today does not end here.
Yeah, I'm just blessed to be in the building and sitting next to these gentlemen here. So my name is Royce Jones. I work at U of L, and so I'm a mental health therapist for the athletes, specifically assigned to the athletic department. I work with football, basketball, and track and field. I've been there now for 3 years, originally from Lansing, Michigan, and I've been working in the community for a while. And so just working in my community in Lansing, when I moved here to Louisville, I said I wanted to do some of the same work. And so I got involved with the African American Male Wellness Agency. And so they do an annual male wellness walk day, and that's actually next Saturday. And that's going to be at the Norton Sports Complex here. It's from 7 to 1 p.m. And so we're going to have probably over 100 vendors there. We do free screenings for black men. We have a 5K walk. We're going to have a jumpy house. We're going to have line dancing. We have pickleball courts. We have all of these things that are going to be going on for the community, and it's all free. And so this is like the funnest event that you can have when it comes to health. And so we're advocating for our black men to know their numbers when it comes to glucose level, cholesterol, blood pressure, all of those different things, and doctor knows like one of the silent killers is high blood pressure, and he talked about the mortality rates, in the West End compared to our counterparts. That's a real thing. And it's a real thing in part because of economics, but also because of mental health. And I would say sometimes as men, we can be stubborn and we don't want to go to the doctor. We don't want to know certain things because of what that exposure, what it's going to do to us. And so just advocating for us as men to know our numbers, to also, and they talked about it on the panel, emotional intelligence. Becoming more emotionally in touch with your own feelings. Know that your feelings and your emotions, it's not weakness, right? It's strength and vulnerability, and that's something that we have to. It has to become a common language for us, is showing our emotions. One thing that that being a parent has taught me is that I'm not going to allow the actions of another person to determine how I'm going to love them, right? And so I have 2 daughters. Sorry about that. But I have 2 daughters, and one of my daughters, I haven't seen her in like 4, maybe 5 years. And I reach out to her on a monthly basis. I text her, and she doesn't text me back, right? But I don't allow her actions to deter how much I'm going to love and give to her, even though I haven't done anything wrong. And so that's what being a parent has taught me. She's 23 years old. She has complete control over her own actions. Now, my oldest daughter, who's 28, she's married now. She has her husband, and my relationship with her is better, but at the same time, I'm still advocating and trying to build that relationship. So being a parent doesn't stop, and I love what my brother said when he said raising a child and then also supporting as an adult. I think that's huge for us. But again, as men, becoming more emotionally intelligent, knowing our why, knowing our values, knowing our things that trigger us. And being okay talking about that. And so another thing that we do with African American Male Wellness Agency is we have what's called Real Men, Real Talks, right? And we do that every month. We have one coming up on the 27th. It's going to be held at Tribe, and that's going to be from 6 to 8. And so we create a safe space for men to talk about their issues, multiple identities, about being a father, being an entrepreneur, forgiveness. All of these things, we create a safe space so that now they can be vulnerable. They can also understand that, I'm not alone. My brother right here, he's going through the same thing. And so now we share our stories, and we're doing things now to be more vulnerable with each other so that now we can also go home to our families and be vulnerable with them and share with them.
Thank you. Can we give a full round of applause to all of the panelists as well? Yes. So for the panelists, please share your last thought, your call to action that you want us to have, and then how can we stay connected to you two?
All right, I'll go first. All right, you can follow me at Maurice White 82 on Gmail. Also, if you need a DJ, you can follow me at DJ Reese. That's with a C. DJ Reese 82. Not Gmail. I'm sorry. On Instagram. For both platforms, both names on both platforms. One call to action, just make sure that we remember to stop lying to ourselves. Remember the stuff that these young folks did, we did it at the same way. I'm not saying not hold them accountable, but let's not be so harsh or, so disconnected from them. And also, again, going back to the emotional intelligence, I believe that's something that we all need to study, especially as black men, if we want to come back and be, again, that anchor that we need to be in regards to maternal health, because, again, our women are fighting the fight. In the hospital, we're fighting the fight
With the police, they fighting the doctors. But if we come together and we do it together, we win. That's it. Also, again, we got to see the value in each other. Men, we have to, again, trust Black women, but women, we need y'all to see our value in the home. You know, not saying that I'm just talking to anybody specific here, but again, we got to get these young ladies to see, the value of the father, whether he's in the home, but just being a part of that situation, period.
So for me, and kind of goes back to the question that he had is, you know, exposure for one. Exposing young men to things, and he talked about it on the end, exposure to different cities, jobs, all of those things, mentorship, and consistency. You know, if we can do those things with our young men, that gives them another way out. Because it's something in the brain when you expose them to something different that takes them to another place. And I was in the military for 14 years, so I got a chance to go all around the globe, and that exposure helped me. And then also lastly is that, you know, life does not get easier, but we have an opportunity to get stronger. And we're only going to get stronger by being more aware of ourselves and then connecting with each other.
So you can reach out. My Instagram is Melanin Baby Doc. And if anyone has questions, pregnancy related, anything like that, family members, friends feel like they're not being heard, I'm happy to answer questions at any time. A quote that sticks with me that I held on to throughout my training was from a mentor who told me that the only person that loses when they don't dream big enough is you. And what I recognized in my journey is that, and I think for a lot of our kids, is they don't have a problem dreaming. They have a problem seeing reality in their dreams. And our job in this room is to help that part. And y'all, we're all connected, 6 degrees of separation. I didn't know you on the end, but now you are at U of L, you are working with the athletes. Now I have someone that could be like, hey, you know, can they go to a basketball practice? Can you go to something like that? There's connections here. And our job is to make reality a part of their dreams, and if we do that, they will show up.
I'll say 2 takeaways that I have. One is we're all here because of SisterSong, and we're talking about Black fatherhood, right? So Black women are being very intentional about creating these spaces for Black men to be better. I read an article in Forbes a couple months ago about Black fathers being the secret weapon to solving maternal health. Kyra said at the beginning of the year, this is the year of the Black dad. And I truly believe that because I'm seeing so much engagement as it relates to Dad Doulas and just empowering Black fathers in general. And those 2 things show me that there is willingness for us to work together. We just have to continue to spread that energy amongst our community because we cannot do any of this in silos. And then for the brothers, if you see a brother, man, like be there, be that shoulder. I was in the gym not too long ago talking to a brother that I'm cool with, I see all the time, and he was sharing with me how his daughter just moved to Atlanta and, you know, how he had been crying and this and the third. And I felt that pain when he was sharing his story with me because that was me a year ago, 2 years ago when my kids moved to Chicago. And I was telling one of my friends, and I felt so weak telling him that I was crying every day until he told me, bro, that's normal. He said, if you wasn't crying every day, then that'd be a problem. Him telling me that helped me navigate that whole space a whole lot easier. So when I heard that brother tell me that story the other day, I shared with him the same thing that was shared with me. And he texted me a few days later saying that, you know what I'm saying, he was able to get through it. He feels a little bit better. You know, we're going to continue to check in. But if we live in these silos even amongst us as men, we're not helping each other get better, right? So we have to be a support. We have to be vulnerable with one another. And then as it relates to Black women and Black men, let's just work together, man. Like, we need each other to move forward. You can follow us at dear.fathers. On Instagram, we have our next cohort for Dad Doulas coming up on October 9th, we have our next virtual quarterly session on October 1st.
I appreciate everything that all these brothers said. I totally agree wholeheartedly. One thing I would say is just to really piggyback off what everyone said is iron sharpens iron. You know, don't be afraid to, you know, talk to your brothers, talk to your sisters, let them know, like, you know, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to, you know, express your feelings and emotions, but having that support for them too as well is big, and it can go a long way. Just being able to have a conversation with somebody and let them know that they're heard. I think that's extremely important. And then doing your research. You know, don't be afraid to be your own student. Don't be afraid to be scholarly. Don't be afraid to, you know, dig into the unknown and educate yourself and teach yourself, so that way you can open the door to educate and teach others. I think that's most important, is to be able to learn something on your own, but also to give it back to your community or give it back to your circle, your friend group, because that can go a long way. Yeah, I don't want to say too much, but that's already been said. But you can follow me on my photography, videography page at supplylab.media. And I just want to thank SisterSong and Ananicia, Dr. Miller, Brad, Maurice, and Mr. Royce, just for giving me the opportunity to share my side and my story and my journey. And it's been a wonderful experience and opportunity. So I thank you all for coming out too as well. I really appreciate that.
We just wrapped up Beyond the Narrative, Black Fatherhood, Mental Health and Reproductive Justice, and what transpired in this room was beautiful. We talked about the history, but we also talked about the future of what it looks like for men to be in the movement of reproductive justice. Stay tuned as we continue to bring men into the movement and uplift Black families as we fight for our reproductive future.